Hey guys, back for the next part of the Ask the Author. Gonna just pick some questions at random, some I haven't done yet, and see where we go. The first one I'd like to answer is from a friend of mine. Her question was, would love to know how you plot out scenes. Is it just the beat, the point of the scene? Do you break it down into scene sections? It depends on the part that I'm writing at the time. Sometimes I'll have a very specific scene in mind or something I've thought of previously and I've been working towards it. Those scenes are very straightforward. I already know what's going to happen. I know what conversation needs to be, where they need to go, what sort of needs to be said, and I just sort of fill in the gaps. Other times I feel like there needs to be something between those kinds of scenes, so I'll cut to the other characters, let them just talk, really. Because when I write a scene, sometimes it's just the two characters in a situation, and I would write how each one would logically react to that situation. So sometimes it takes directions even I don't expect. Characters react their own way. Sometimes I won't know what they're going to say until they get there. It changes quite a bit. So I try not to overly plan out scenes. I usually have a brief idea of what needs to be said or a theme that needs to be brought up. Or sometimes it's just as simple as, what is this character doing? How would they react? And then I see what they do. And when writing each character, I just sort of get into their mindset, and the characters take on a life of their own sometimes, and sometimes they surprise me with how they react. Sometimes they entirely change scenes, and more than once I've had to rewrite and add a couple of extra scenes in just to make it work afterwards. But otherwise they'd feel wooden and planned, and the characters aren't like that. So I hope that kind of helps, answers the question. In the long term, I know where everything needs to go. In the short term, sometimes it's up to the characters. So, all right. Another friend, another member of the DAP crew, asks, "Howdy, hi. The question is, what character have I written so far that I feel most connected to, and if possible, can I tell why?" The short answer is Envy. Something about the way he thinks and acts methodically is everything I would like to be. I'm not like that. But on paper, I feel very connected to that character. The way he is trying to change things about himself, and he cares about others, but he still tries to put himself first, but struggles with that. It's something, I don't know, it's just something about that character I've always been connected to. But the long answer is, technically all of them. Most of the characters, especially the main ones, those that I write from their point of view especially, they're all aspects of myself. I have to get into a character to think how they would talk, how they would act, and without some sort of building blocks to work from, I wouldn't be able to do that very well. So each one of them has a little bit of an aspect of myself. Sometimes it's just like writing Wrath. What would I do if I had no impulse control? She's crazy. So the first thing that comes to mind, that's usually what she does. Characters like Nadia, I've got siblings and friends that I really love, so I am protective. Even Ezekiel. Ezekiel is very questioning mind. Questions everything, doesn't know his position. So yeah, short answer, Envy. Long answer, probably all of them at some point. Another one of the girls that I work with has asked, what is your process for world building and getting it to continue to make sense? That's not exactly how she worded it, but that's how we figured it out. Honestly, I overthink things. Sometimes I overcomplicate it, and the world building doesn't need to be that difficult, but I spend a lot of time thinking about it. Sometimes it's just asking myself questions. How would this character do this? What was this angel do for a living? How does their society work? Sometimes it's as simple as taking those ideas, brainstorming them with others, just writing them down, seeing what makes sense, and coming back to it. And as you continue writing, you find little things that you're like, I need to explain that better, or I need that to work. And then sometimes it's best left to the imagination. So I wanted a fairly rigid magic system, at least for the casting, very specific word usage. So I put a lot of thought into that, how they would work, the limitations of it, things like that. But then other things like some mystical creatures, some hidden doorways through the dimensions and things, they don't need to be explained. Those things need to feel magical. And yeah, honestly, the more I read and the more videos I watch about ideas and cool characters and mystical worlds and things, the more I realize there are two schools of thought. One, everything needs to be explained into the tiniest detail, and two, some things need to be magical, don't need to be explained, or they only need to be explained just enough to make it feel believable. So it all depends on what impact of the story these things have, but I want it to be solid enough that by the time I finish the first book series, anyone else should be able to join into the Dimensionverse. So it's a lot of thought, a lot of planning, and knowing when to just let it be mystical. And yeah, hopefully, I'm sure there are other readers and authors out there who will probably read my book series and go, this doesn't make any sense. Hopefully there aren't too many of those. Not too many of those moments that sort of break that immersion. And people can just enjoy it. And yeah, I hope that helps.